Welcome to another deep dive, and this one is going to take us pretty far out there. We're going to be talking about compact objects.
I'm excited.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Some of the most, I guess you could say, awesome objects in the universe.
Yeah, they're definitely up there.
Yeah, they really push the boundaries of physics as we know it.
Absolutely. So to start off, can you give us a quick rundown of what compact objects are?
Sure. Compact objects are basically the remnants of stellar evolution.
Oh, okay.
So we're talking about things like white dwarfs, neutron stars, and black holes.
So these are like the end of a star's life.
Exactly, the end of a star's life. So
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing to think that something so massive and bright can collapse down into something so small and dense.
So how does that happen? What causes that collapse?
It's a battle between gravity and outward radiation pressure.
Right.
So during a star's life, it's fusing hydrogen into helium in its core, and that creates this outward pressure. That counteracts the inward pull of gravity. But when a star runs out of fuel, gravity wins.
Okay, so it sounds like this is kind of like a cosmic tug of war.
Exactly. It's a tug of war between these two forces.
And gravity is just too strong.
And in the end, gravity always wins.
Okay, but so how does that create different types of compact objects? Is it just about the size of the original star?
That's a good question. The size of the original star actually plays a big role in determining what kind of compact object it will become. So, for example, smaller stars, like our sun,
Okay.
when they run out of fuel, they'll collapse into a white dwarf.
Okay, white dwarfs. So just how dense are white dwarfs?
Pretty dense. A white dwarf is essentially the mass of the sun packed into the size of the Earth.
Wow.
Yeah. So imagine taking all of the matter in the sun and squeezing it down to the size of our planet.
Yeah, so how is that even possible? I mean, how can something be that dense?
It's due to something called electron degeneracy pressure. So in normal matter, electrons, they occupy specific energy levels around an atom. But in a white dwarf, the electrons are forced so close together that they can't occupy the same energy levels. They're all basically packed in as tightly as they can be.
Okay, so it's like a cosmic traffic jam.
Exactly, like a traffic jam. And that creates this outward pressure that prevents the white dwarf from collapsing any further.
Okay, so is there a limit to how much a white dwarf can handle? Is there a weight limit, so to speak?
Yeah, there is. It's called the Chandrasekhar limit.
Okay.
And it's about 1.4 times the mass of the sun.
Okay, so that's the magic number.
Yeah, if a white dwarf exceeds that limit, it can't be supported by electron degeneracy pressure anymore.
So what happens then? I mean, does it just keep collapsing?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. And that's how we get to the next level of compact objects, which are neutron stars.
All right, well, this is fascinating stuff. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back to talk more about neutron stars and all sorts of other crazy things. So we were talking about white dwarfs and this Chandrasekhar limit. What happens if a white dwarf pushes past that limit?
Well, things get pretty wild when a white dwarf gains more mass than the Chandrasekhar limit. Electron degeneracy pressure just can't cut it anymore.
Okay, so gravity takes over.
Exactly. Gravity wins, and the white dwarf, it collapses further.
I see. So then what? Does it just disappear?
Not quite. It transforms into something even more extreme. A neutron star.
A neutron star.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's happening inside a neutron star? How is it different from a white dwarf?
Well, remember how we were talking about electron degeneracy pressure in white dwarfs?
Yeah.
Well, in a neutron star, the collapse is so powerful that it forces electrons and protons to combine.
To combine.
Yeah, they merge together to form neutrons.
Whoa, okay, so it's like the atoms themselves are being crushed.
Pretty much. You end up with an object that's almost entirely made up of neutrons packed incredibly tight. That's why it's called a neutron star.
So how dense are we talking about here?
Imagine squeezing Mount Everest into something the size of, say, a sugar cube.
A sugar cube.
Yeah.
Wow. So if white dwarfs are the Earth squeezed into a golf ball, neutron stars are like a mountain squeezed into sugar.
A good way to put it. And that insane density leads to some pretty crazy properties.
Okay, what kind of properties are we talking about?
For one, the gravity on a neutron star is just phenomenal. If you were to drop a feather from, say, a meter above the surface, it would hit the ground at over 1,000,000 kilometers per hour.
You're kidding! A feather!
Yeah, the gravitational pull is that strong.
Wow. So anything that gets too close to a neutron star is basically doomed?
Pretty much. They're like cosmic vacuum cleaners sucking in anything that ventures too close.
Okay. What else is special about neutron stars?
Well, they also spin incredibly fast. Some neutron stars, we call them pulsars, can rotate hundreds of times per second.
Hundreds of times a second.
Yeah. And as they spin, they emit these beams of radiation.
So like they're kind of like a lighthouse.
Exactly. We can detect these pulses from Earth. It's like the neutron star is sending us a signal.
So those signals, they're like the heartbeat of a neutron star.
In a way, yes. And these signals tell us a lot about these fascinating objects. But, we've talked about white dwarfs and neutron stars, but there's an even more extreme endpoint for some stars.
Oh, right. You're talking about black holes.
Exactly. Black holes are the ultimate consequence of gravity's victory.
Okay, so tell me, how do black holes form? What makes them different from these other super dense objects?
All right, so black holes, how do they form? Are they like just super duper dense neutron stars?
Well, they form when you have a star that's massive enough and it collapses at the end of its life.
Okay.
And the gravity is so strong that nothing, not even light, can escape.
So like if a neutron star is Mount Everest in a sugar cube, what's a black hole? It's even more extreme. We're talking about a region of space-time where matter is compressed to a point of infinite density.
Infinite density.
It's called a singularity.
Mm-hmm.
And around that singularity, there's this boundary called the event horizon.
Okay.
And once you cross the event horizon, there's no coming back.
So it's like a point of no return.
Exactly. And because even light can't escape, black holes are, well, black.
That makes them kind of hard to study, right?
Yeah, we can't see them directly, but we can observe their effects on the surrounding matter.
So how do we know they're even there?
We can see, for example, stars orbiting around these invisible objects.
Okay.
Or we can detect the X-rays that are emitted when matter falls into a black hole.
So it's like detective work, looking for the clues.
That's a good way to put it. We're constantly learning more about black holes and their role in the universe.
Okay, so we've gone from white dwarfs to neutron stars to black holes. Now, you mentioned before that there might be even weirder stuff out there, like quark stars and preon stars.
Yeah, those are even more hypothetical objects.
Hypothetical.
Yeah, they haven't been observed yet, but some theories suggest that they could exist.
Okay, so what are quark stars and preon stars?
Well, remember how we talked about matter being squeezed down in white dwarfs and neutron stars?
Yeah.
Well, quark stars are thought to be made up of quarks.
Quarks.
Yeah, quarks are these fundamental particles that make up protons and neutrons. So a quark star would be even denser than a neutron star.
And preon stars.
Preon stars are even more theoretical. The idea is that preons might be the building blocks of quarks.
Okay.
So a preon star would be made up of these preons, which would make it incredibly dense.
So it's like the ultimate cosmic compression.
Yeah, you could say that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, these are just theoretical possibilities.
Well, this has been quite a journey.
Yeah, it has.
We've gone from the life and death of stars to the formation of these incredible objects.
And who knows what else is out there waiting to be discovered.
Yeah, that's what I love about astronomy. There's always more to learn and explore.
It's a universe of possibilities.
Well, thanks for taking us on this deep dive.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all of our listeners out there, thanks for joining us. And until next time, keep looking up. Okay, so today we're going deep into Chauvet Cave. We're going to be using excerpts from its Wikipedia page.
Cool.
And really trying to unpack, what makes this cave so special.
Yeah.
It's not just pretty pictures,
Right. And what's really fascinating is that Chauvet gives us one of the earliest glimpses we have into human artistic expression, like going way back.
Oh, yeah.
Over 30,000 years.
30,000 years. I mean, that's almost impossible
Sure.
to even wrap your head around.
Yeah.
So the Wikipedia article mentions that the cave was discovered relatively recently in 1994 by a group of speleologists.
Yeah, and it's actually named after one of them, Jean-Marie Chauvet.
Oh, wow.
But what's really, really interesting is that humans were using this cave for thousands of years before it was sealed off by a rockfall.
Oh, wow.
So we're talking about two distinct periods here.
Okay.
The Aurignacian and later the Gravetian.
Okay, so that raises a question for me.
Okay.
Why the gap between these periods? What happened that made people stop using the cave for a while?
That's one of the mysteries that we're still trying to solve.
Right.
It could be environmental changes,
Mm-hmm.
migrations of people, or even something as simple as the entrance becoming blocked.
Oh, interesting.
But what's remarkable is that when humans returned to the cave during that later Gravetian period, they didn't just pick up where they left off.
Yeah.
Their artistic style had actually evolved, which suggests cultural shifts and just like new ways of seeing the world.
It's like walking into a time capsule,
Yeah.
but one where like the contents have been rearranged, in some fascinating way between visits. And speaking of contents, this cave is more than just paintings, right?
Oh, for sure.
We're
Yeah.
talking fossilized remains, animal prints, markings.
Yep.
It's a whole prehistoric ecosystem preserved in stone.
Absolutely. And one of the most striking things about Chauvet, compared to other cave art sites, is the abundance of predator imagery.
Oh, really?
Lions, leopards, bears, hyenas,
Wow.
even rhinos, which, while herbivores, were formidable creatures in their own right.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, most cave art focuses on herbivores, right?
Right.
So why the emphasis on these, powerful, potentially dangerous animals?
Yeah.
What do you think that tells us about the people who created this art?
Well, that's a question that's really captivated archaeologists for years.
Yeah.
Some believe it reflects the dangers that these early humans actually faced.
Right.
A way to acknowledge the power of these animals and perhaps even appease them through art.
Oh, interesting.
Others see it as a form of shamanistic practice, like connecting with the spirit world through the depiction of these powerful animal figures.
No, it's not just about aesthetics. It's
Yeah.
about their belief system, their relationship with the world around them. It's
Exactly.
a whole different way of seeing art.
Precisely. And what's even more intriguing is the absence of complete human figures.
Oh, really?
We see a couple of partial Venus figures,
Okay.
these stylized representations of the female form,
Okay.
but no full human depictions.
Huh. That's so interesting. That's a curious omission.
Yep.
Especially considering how detailed and lifelike the animal paintings are.
Right.
Any theories on why that might be?
Well, some researchers believe it could be a cultural taboo,
Right.
a deliberate choice to avoid representing humans in their entirety.
Okay.
Perhaps they saw it as a way to maintain a separation between the human and animal realms.
Interesting.
Or maybe it was a form of ancestor worship, where depicting the full human form was considered disrespectful.
It's almost as if by not depicting themselves,
Yeah.
they were placing the focus entirely on the animals,
Yeah.
on the power and mystery of the natural world.
Right.
Which, considering they were living in such close proximity to these creatures, makes a lot of sense.
It does, doesn't it? And this actually brings us to another remarkable aspect of Chauvet, the artistic skill involved.
Right.
These weren't simply crude sketches on a cave wall.
Yeah.
The artists used techniques like smoothing the wall surface, etching, and shading to create a sense of depth and movement.
Wow.
They even created scenes like that famous image of the rhinos seemingly locking horns.
Oh, yeah.
It speaks to a level of sophistication we don't always associate with prehistoric art.
Yeah. It's like they were trying to capture not just the physical form of the animals,
Right.
but their energy, their
I
behavior.
mean, totally.
They were telling stories, weren't they?
Yes.
And using the cave itself as their canvas.
It really does feel that way.
Yeah.
They were shaping narratives on these walls, narratives that we're still trying to decipher thousands of years later.
That's incredible.
And speaking of time, let's delve into the dating of these paintings.
Okay.
Because it wasn't without its controversies.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, initially radiocarbon dating placed the paintings like firmly,
Right.
in the Aurignacian period,
Okay.
about 30,000 to 32,000 years ago.
Right. Right.
But some researchers argued that the style was more like art from much later periods.
So a real head scratcher.
Yeah,
Science saying one thing, artistic analysis another.
exactly.
How do they resolve that?
Well, it took time and multiple lines of evidence.
Okay.
Further radiocarbon dating, over 250 samples in total, consistently supported that initial time frame.
Wow. That's a lot.
I know, but what really clinched it was studying the cave's geology.
Oh, interesting.
Researchers actually found that the entrance had been sealed by a rock fall
Uh-huh.
roughly 29,000 years ago.
So anything inside had to be older than that.
Exactly.
Wow. So the cave itself,
Yeah.
providing the proof,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
It is.
But it also means that there were two separate phases of human activity in the cave.
Right.
Both the Aurignacian and the early Gravetian periods,
Yes.
thousands of years apart.
Exactly. And this makes Chauvet even more significant,
Yeah.
It's not just a snapshot of one moment in time.
Right.
It's a layered record of human presence, artistic evolution,
Right.
and changing relationships with the natural world.
You mentioned earlier the variety of animals depicted.
Yeah.
The Wikipedia page lists at least 13 different species, some rarely seen in other cave art.
Right.
It's like a who's who of the Ice Age.
It is. You got your iconic megafauna, like, mammoths, aurochs, horses.
Yeah.
But then you also have those incredible predators.
Yeah.
Cave lions, leopards, even a woolly rhinoceros.
Ooh.
Yeah. What's remarkable is the level of detail and realism.
Right.
These artists weren't just sketching.
Yeah.
They were carefully observing and capturing the essence of these animals.
And they weren't just, randomly placed on the walls either.
No, they weren't.
Right, but the article mentions the use of composition, even scenes depicting animal interactions.
Right. There's that famous scene of two woolly rhinos locking horns.
Oh, yeah.
Possibly fighting for territory or mates.
Wow.
It's not just a depiction. It's a story unfolding on the cave wall.
Totally.
Yeah, it suggests a keen understanding of animal behavior, social dynamics.
Right.
Perhaps even a narrative about the struggle for survival in that harsh Ice Age environment.
Yeah, it really challenges our notion of prehistoric art as purely symbolic or decorative. I mean, these artists were actively engaging with the world around them, trying to understand it and convey its complexities. It's a form of visual storytelling that really transcends language and time.
I couldn't agree more. And the techniques they used are equally fascinating.
Right.
The article describes how they prepped the walls,
Okay.
smoothing the surface for better paint application.
Oh, wow.
They also use techniques like etching and incising to create depth and texture.
Wow.
It adds another layer of sophistication to their artistry.
I'm trying to imagine, those artists working by firelight.
I know, me too.
Deep inside the cave.
Yeah.
It must have been a truly immersive experience.
It must have been.
Both for them and for anyone who saw those images flickering in the darkness.
All right.
Did they find evidence of, torches or hearths inside?
They did. They found remains of torches and hearths.
Wow.
Giving us a glimpse into the conditions under which these masterpieces were created.
I mean, just imagine that scene, right? Flickering flames casting dancing shadows on the walls, highlighting the contours of the paintings, creating an almost otherworldly atmosphere.
It's true. It transforms the cave from just a shelter into a space of ritual, of storytelling, of connecting with something larger than themselves.
It's almost as if the cave itself becomes a living canvas.
Right.
Breathing life into the stories depicted on its walls.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the question of, why they chose to depict so many predators.
Yeah.
Perhaps it was a way to connect with the raw power and mystery of the natural world, to acknowledge their own vulnerability in the face of these formidable creatures.
Right.
Or maybe it was a way to tap into the spiritual essence of these animals.
Yeah.
Seeing them as guides or protectors in a world full of dangers.
It's a powerful reminder that our relationship with the natural world has been a complex and multifaceted one for tens of thousands of years.
It's true.
And art has always been a way for us to explore and express that relationship.
Absolutely. And Chauvet Cave, with its remarkable preservation and the sheer artistry on display, offers us an unparalleled window into the minds and worldviews of our Paleolithic ancestors.
It really does.
It's a gift, a legacy that continues to captivate and inspire us today.
Speaking of legacy, let's talk about the steps taken to preserve this treasure.
Okay.
The Wikipedia page highlights this tension between protecting this fragile art and sharing it with the world.
Yes.
Chauvet is closed to the public, right?
That's right. They've learned from past mistakes with sites like Lascaux, where exposure to light and human presence led to damage.
Right.
With Chauvet, they're taking no chances.
Okay, so how can people experience it? Is it just photos and videos?
There's something even more remarkable.
Oh, really?
Have you heard of the Caverne du Pont d'Arc?
The replica.
Yeah.
I've heard mentions, but tell me more.
It's not just a replica, it's an experience.
Okay.
They used cutting-edge technology, laser scanning 3D modeling, to recreate Chauvet down to the smallest detail.
Wow.
It's the largest replica cave ever built, just a few kilometers from the original.
They recreated the entire cave.
Yes.
That's mind-blowing.
It is, and they went beyond just the visuals.
Really?
They've carefully replicated the temperature, the humidity, even the acoustics of the original cave.
Wow.
It's as close as you can get to stepping back in time and experiencing Chauvet as those early humans did.
It's a testament to our desire to connect with the past,
Yeah,
to understand our place in the long sweep of human history.
I agree.
And it allows us to experience the wonder of Chauvet without harming the original.
Right.
That's the beauty of it, preservation and accessibility working hand in hand.
It truly is. And it ensures that future generations will be able to marvel at this testament to human creativity and ingenuity,
Right.
just as we do today.
It makes you wonder, what would those artists think
Yeah.
if they could see their work preserved and shared with the world thousands of years later?
That's a great question.
What stories would they tell us about their lives, their beliefs, their hopes and dreams?
It's a question that sparks the imagination, isn't it?
It does.
And it highlights the power of art to transcend time,
Yeah.
to connect us across millennia,
Right.
and to remind us of the enduring human spirit that drives us to create, to explore, and to leave our mark on the world.
And on that note, let's shift gears a little bit and delve into some of the specific details of the paintings themselves.
Right.
What stood out to you in the descriptions from the Wikipedia page?
Well, you know, one thing that really struck me was just the sheer number of paintings.
Oh, yeah.
The Wikipedia page mentions hundreds of animal depictions.
It's incredible.
I mean, to think about the time and dedication that went into this,
Right.
it's staggering.
It really is.
Yeah.
And when you consider the conditions they were working under,
Wow.
deep inside a cave by firelight,
Yeah.
using rudimentary tools,
Yeah,
I mean, the level of artistry is even more impressive.
it is.
They weren't just slapping paint on a wall, you know?
Right.
They were creating lasting works of art. Yeah, it speaks to a level of planning and commitment we might not typically associate with prehistoric people.
Right.
It wasn't just like a quick doodle. This
Man.
was a sustained creative effort.
Absolutely. And the Wikipedia page describes how they often used the natural contours of the cave walls to enhance their depictions.
Oh, wow.
They weren't just painting on the cave.
Right.
They were incorporating the cave into the art itself.
It becomes a collaborative effort in a way
Yes.
between the artists and the cave itself.
Exactly.
Which, you know, makes sense considering the importance of caves in many prehistoric cultures.
What?
They were seen as sacred spaces.
Right. Places of power and mystery.
And that brings us to another interesting detail.
Okay.
The use of color.
Yeah.
Chauvet's artists primarily used black and red pigments derived from charcoal and ochre,
Right.
but they didn't just like use them flatly.
No, they didn't.
They layered them,
Yeah.
creating subtle variations in tone and shade.
Right. It's like they were pushing the boundaries of what they could achieve with limited materials.
Right.
They were experimenting, innovating,
Yeah.
finding ways to bring these animals to life on the cave walls.
Yeah, and the page even mentions examples of like shading and perspective.
I know, it's amazing.
Techniques that wouldn't become widespread in Western art for thousands of years.
Right.
It challenges our assumptions about the evolution of artistic techniques,
Yeah.
showing that these concepts were present far earlier than we might have thought.
It really does.
It suggests that the human impulse to create, to experiment with form and representation
Yeah.
is deeply ingrained in our nature.
Right.
It's not something that like developed gradually over time. It's
Right.
something that's been with us from the very beginning.
I agree. And what's also interesting is the choice of animals depicted.
Yeah,
We've talked about the predators.
right.
But even the herbivores aren't your typical, like, grazing animals.
Right.
We see aurochs, these massive extinct oxen,
Wow.
powerful horses, woolly rhinoceroses.
It's like they were drawn to the raw power and energy of these creatures.
Yeah.
Maybe they saw something of themselves reflected in these animals.
Good.
A sense of resilience and adaptability in a challenging environment.
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, what were they trying to convey by choosing these particular animals?
Right?
Was it purely aesthetic, or was there a deeper symbolic meaning?
Right.
Were they trying to capture the essence of the Ice Age world they inhabited?
Yeah.
A world where survival depended on strength and cunning.
It makes you wonder what those artists would think if they could see how we view their work today.
Right.
Would they recognize themselves in our interpretations?
Yep.
Or would they be surprised by the meanings we've projected onto their art?
That's a great question, and one we can only speculate on.
Yeah.
But one thing's for certain, Chauvet Cave offers us a glimpse into a world
Yeah,
that is both familiar and profoundly different from our own.
it does.
It's a reminder of the enduring power of art to transcend time, to connect us to the past.
And to make us question our assumptions about what it means to be human.
Well said, and for you listening, think about this.
Okay.
If you could step back in time and meet those artists,
Yeah.
what would you ask them?
Hmm.
What would you want to know about their lives, their beliefs,
Right.
the stories they were trying to tell on those cave walls?
Let that question linger.
Yeah.
Because in many ways, exploring Chauvet Cave is like embarking on a conversation with the past.
Yeah.
A conversation that challenges us to see the world through different eyes and to appreciate the deep roots of human creativity and expression.
It's been an incredible journey exploring Chauvet Cave with you today.
It has.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning,
Yes.
and keep the spirit of discovery alive.
All right, let's dive in. Today, we're gonna take a deep dive into the Cullinan diamond, the largest gem-quality rough diamond ever discovered. And to guide us through all the fascinating details, we'll be pulling from its Wikipedia article.
Now, this isn't just any diamond. We're talking about a piece of history here.
Exactly. We're talking about a diamond the size of a grapefruit. I mean, can you imagine? This thing weighed massive 3,106 carats.
Wow.
And get this, it was found just 18 feet below the surface in a South African mine
Oh, wow.
back in 1905. I mean, can you imagine being Frederick Wells, the mine manager who stumbled upon this incredible find?
Absolutely. And especially back then, in the early 1900s, before we had all these massive diamond discoveries we hear about today,
Yeah.
the Cullinan size would have been absolutely unprecedented.
It's crazy to think about, right? You'd think a discovery this priceless would be locked away immediately.
Yeah.
But no, it was actually put on public display in Johannesburg, attracting like thousands of curious onlookers.
Yeah, that public display, it really speaks volumes about the Cullinan's impact, culturally. I mean, it was a symbol of national pride and a testament to just like the incredible power of nature.
It's amazing how a single object can hold so much significance.
Yeah.
And the journey to London, oh man, talk about captivating. They use decoys and secret strategies to protect this precious cargo, like something straight out of a spy movie.
Yeah. Understandable given its value.
Yeah.
But what's really intriguing is that despite all the global buzz, the Cullinan actually remained unsold for 2 whole years.
2 years, you'd think it would have been like snapped up instantly. So that makes me wonder, I mean, was there more to it than just like the price tag? Was there maybe some hesitation because of the sheer scale of this diamond and the challenges involved in actually cutting it?
I mean, it's certainly possible potential buyers might have been intimidated, by the risks associated with cutting such a massive stone.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the diamond's future was kind of uncertain for a while, but then it takes a very interesting turn. A royal one. The Transvaal colony government, led by Prime Minister Louis Botha. They make a bold decision. They purchase the Cullinan themselves.
Yes. Knowing the historical context,
Yeah.
I believe they intended to present it as a gift to King Edward VII, the British monarch.
Exactly. It was presented to the king on his birthday as like this grand gesture of goodwill and loyalty, and you won't believe who was involved in persuading the king to actually accept it.
Oh.
A young Winston Churchill.
Wow. Churchill, huh?
Yeah, adds another layer to the story, right? And he was even gifted a replica of the Cullinan, which he, often showed off.
I see.
This act of gifting the Cullinan to the British monarch really highlights the complexities,
Yeah.
of their relationship with South Africa at the time.
It does.
It wasn't just a diamond, it was this powerful political symbol. But beyond the politics and the history, we can't forget, this was still a giant uncut diamond. And that brings us to the cutting challenge. It was entrusted to Asher & Co. of Amsterdam, known for their expertise in diamond cutting. But back in 1908, the technology, it wasn't as advanced as it is today.
Oh, absolutely. Splitting and polishing a diamond of that size, that was an immense undertaking. One wrong move could have shattered like a priceless piece of history. Imagine the pressure.
I can only imagine. So when Joseph Asher, the master diamond cutter, when he was about to make that first cut, was it like a moment of intense silence? Did everyone hold their breath?
But, accounts differ on that. Some say Asher fainted after the first strike, just overwhelmed by the gravity of the moment. Others believe he, being the expert he was, would have celebrated with champagne. But regardless, it took weeks of meticulous planning.
Yep.
specialized tools.
And even a broken steel knife on the first attempt.
Oh, man, the
It's just so
sickly.
unbelievable. But in the end,
You'll say.
he successfully cleaved the diamond, right?
He did. It was a turning point, marking the transformation
Yeah.
of this rough stone into a collection of polished gems.
And that leads us to the Cullinan's legacy. It yielded 9 major stones and 96 smaller brilliants,
Wow.
a testament to the skill and artistry involved in that cutting process.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's dive into the story of those diamonds next.
Okay, so we have this giant diamond, expertly cleaved. And now we're talking about, like, a whole family of gems. Where do we even begin?
Well, the 2 most famous gems to emerge from the Cullinan are undoubtedly Cullinan II. Cullinan Moor, also known as the Great Star of Africa, is the largest clear-cut diamond in the world.
That's incredible. Over 530 carats with 74 facets. I mean, it's just mind-boggling to imagine the sparkle. So where is this dazzling diamond now?
It's mounted at the top of the sovereign scepter, one of the most iconic pieces of the British crown jewels. Wow. So not just a stunning gem, but a symbol of power and history as well. And what about Cullinan II? Is it part of the crown jewels as well?
It is. Cullinan II, also called the Second Star of Africa, weighs in at a remarkable 317 carats and is set prominently in the imperial state crown.
So 2 of the most significant diamonds in the world are from the same original stone. That's an incredible legacy.
Yeah.
What happened to the other 7 major Cullinan diamonds?
Those, along with a number of smaller brilliants, ended up in the possession of Queen Mary. She had them incorporated into various pieces of jewelry, including a stunning stomacher she wore for the Delhi Durbar in 1911.
Hold on, a stomacher. That sounds more like something for an upset stomach, not a piece of jewelry. What exactly is a stomacher?
Right, well, think of it as an ornate, jeweled panel worn over the bodice of a dress, often for, formal occasions. Queen Mary's stomacher was particularly extravagant. Imagine a cascade of diamonds arranged in this, like, intricate pattern covering the front of her gown. The Cullinan diamonds would have added an extra layer of brilliance, and historical significance to the piece. It must have been incredible to see.
Yeah. It's amazing how she used jewelry to express power and style. Do we know how the public reacted to her Cullinan pieces? Were there, any accounts of people being awestruck by them?
Oh, there are definitely accounts of people being impressed by Queen Mary's jewelry collection, especially, when she incorporated the Cullinans. These diamonds weren't just beautiful. They represented, like, a piece of history and carried a sense of national pride.
Makes sense. Speaking of legacies, these Cullinan diamonds didn't stay with Queen Mary forever, right? What happened to them after her?
They were passed down to Queen Elizabeth II and became part of her personal collection, separate from the crown jewels. Interestingly, she often wore Cullinans III and IV together as a brooch.
I would love to see pictures of that. And didn't Queen Mary also have a platinum chain made from smaller Cullinan diamonds?
Yes, she did. However, it seems she never wore it publicly. There's even a quote attributed to her where she mentions the chain gets in the soup, which is rather amusing, coming from a queen.
It really is. It's remarkable to think that such a valuable piece of history was never publicly displayed. What could have been the reasons behind her decision? Was it practicality, personal preference, or maybe something else entirely?
It's a fascinating question. We can only speculate, really. But perhaps it was too delicate or impractical for certain events. Maybe it held sentimental value for her, making it more of a personal treasure than a piece for, public display.
That's an intriguing thought. Little Cullinan mystery. So we've got these major diamonds, smaller brilliants, necklaces, brooches, even a soup-averse platinum chain. It's safe to say the Cullinan's legacy goes far beyond just a single stone.
Precisely. The Cullinan diamond story provides a glimpse into various facets of history, from, diamond mining and cutting techniques to the intricate relationship between South Africa and the British monarchy. It also raises questions about, ownership, value, and the stories we attach to precious objects.
It's like a diamond with 1,000 facets, each reflecting a different piece of the past. But what about the diamond itself? How did the cutting process affect its value? You'd think just being the biggest rough diamond ever found would be enough.
That's a great point. The Cullinan's journey is a reminder that sometimes a raw, uncut resource, even one as impressive as the Cullinan, needs refinement to reach its full potential. Remember how it remained unsold for 2 years?
Right.
That suggests buyers might have been hesitant about the challenges and risks of cutting such a massive stone.
So the cutting process wasn't just about aesthetics. It was about unlocking the diamond's true value.
Absolutely. By transforming that single rough stone into a collection of polished gems, each with its own unique beauty, the Cullinan's worth was magnified exponentially.
That makes sense. And the artistry involved in that cutting process shouldn't be overlooked either. It required an incredible level of skill and precision to bring out the brilliance of those diamonds.
Couldn't agree more. The Cullinan story highlights how human craftsmanship and ingenuity can elevate even the most extraordinary natural wonders. It's a testament to the power of vision and expertise.
And that legacy continues to sparkle to this day. It's remarkable. To trace a diamond's journey from a South African mine to the crown jewels of a monarchy, it really speaks volumes about the enduring power of these gems.
Indeed. And beyond the physical objects, the Cullinan diamond has become like a cultural symbol, sparking discussions about colonialism, ownership, and the value we place on precious objects. It's a reminder that even a diamond can hold multiple layers of meaning and spark important conversations.
That's a great point. It's more than just a pretty sparkle. It's a catalyst for discussions that continue to resonate in the present. But before we delve too deeply into the philosophical implications, I have one last burning question about the Cullinan legacy. So we talked about Cullinan and Citrena, even those smaller diamonds set into a platinum chain for Queen Mary. But it seems she never wore that chain publicly. It makes you wonder, why have these incredible gems and then just keep them hidden away?
Right. It's funny how history works sometimes. We don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
Maybe Queen Mary thought the chain was too delicate or just not practical for certain events. Or maybe she thought it was a little too much, a bit too ostentatious for her taste. It's also possible that it held a personal significance for her, something she just preferred to keep private. It's a bit of a Cullinan enigma.
A historical mystery. I love it. Adds another layer of intrigue to the whole story. So looking back on everything we've learned, what stands out to you as the most significant aspect of the Cullinan diamond's journey?
For me, I think it's the transformation. You start with this massive raw stone, right, discovered totally by chance in a South African mine. Through human, ingenuity and craftsmanship, it gets transformed into these exquisite gems that because symbols of power, history, even national identity. That journey, from rough diamond to crown jewel, I think it's testament to human potential and the just enduring allure of these precious stones.
Yeah, it's not just a diamond. It's like you said, it's a story that touches on, discovery, transformation, politics, artistry, even a bit of mystery. It's fascinating to think about how a single object can hold so much meaning and spark such diverse conversations.
Yeah, it's true. And I think that's why it continues to captivate us, over a century later. And it makes you wonder, how many other Cullinans are out there just waiting to be discovered, each with its own unique tale to tell, its own journey, from the depths of the earth to the hands of humankind?
It's exciting to think about. All those undiscovered treasures just waiting, each with the potential to reveal more about our world, our history, even ourselves. Well, a big thanks to our source, the Cullinan Diamond Wikipedia article, for leading us through this captivating story.
Absolutely. And to you, dear listener, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of the Cullinan diamond. We hope you've gained a new appreciation for this remarkable gem and the fascinating story it embodies.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep discovering.